Excellency, the Prime Cabinet Secretary and Cabinet Secretary for Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, Dr. Musalia Mudavadi, Your Excellencies, distinguished ministers here present, representatives of the African Union and the United Nations, members of the diplomatic corps here present, esteemed delegates, development partners, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Morning again. Let me start by first and foremost thanking Your Excellency for getting time to come. I know that you had a very hectic program, and apologize on our own behalf for starting late. We were supposed to be a bit earlier, but we had other engagements, so we came a bit late. Secondly, let me take this opportunity on behalf of the ministry and on behalf of the team that has put this conference together to welcome all of you to Kenya and to thank you most sincerely for undertaking this exercise of coming up with the Safe Schools Declaration, which to me is the most important aspect on the education sector, not just in Kenya, but across the world. Ladies and gentlemen, as you well know, for those countries like ours that have placed it in our constitutions that education is a basic right, it cannot be a basic right, it cannot be achieved if our schools are unsafe for our children. And I hasten even to postulate that the safety of our schools and of our children in those schools should not only be limited to situations of armed conflict. In situations where, for example, there is internal conflict, external conflict, or crises of violence arising out of such issues as election violence in the country, the safety and the children's safety in our schools becomes of paramount importance. So what I'm saying or suggesting is that as you deliberate, we might want to do an extension of this declaration not only to cover armed conflict, but to extend to crises and other violent situations that affect our schools, affect our children in every and each situation. Your Excellency, distinguished delegates, once again, it's a great honor to welcome you to Kenya and to this important 5th International Conference on the Safe Schools Declaration. This gathering is a testament to our shared conviction that education must remain protected, uninterrupted, and accessible to every learner regardless of their circumstances. I'm deeply encouraged by the level of global representation in this room today, and I affirm the Ministry of Education's strong support towards advancing this vital agenda. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, the Safe Schools Declaration, now marking a decade since its inception, has emerged as a beacon of hope for millions of learners worldwide. The theme of this year's conference, Safe Education for All, a decade of commitment, a call to action, reminds us that while much has been achieved in advocacy, policy adoption, and global consensus, the true measure of success lies in meaningful implementation. A commitment is only powerful if it translates into protection, and action is only meaningful if it safeguards the future of our children. In Kenya, we are working tirelessly to integrate the principles of the Safe Schools Declaration across our education and security frameworks. We recognize that insecurity disrupts learning, and therefore we are strengthening interministerial coordination to reduce risks to learners, teachers, and the school's infrastructure. We have increasingly adopted approaches that maintain school operations even during periods of localized instability, expanded psychological support in vulnerable regions, and supported teacher preparedness in crisis management. These efforts affirm our belief that learning must never be suspended, even in the face of adversity. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, we are aware that across Africa and the world, too many children walk long distances through areas affected by insecurity. Too many teachers work in hardship conditions, and too many schools remain vulnerable to disruption or attack. These challenges are not merely statistics. They are stories of interrupted dreams. That's why this conference must be action-driven. The discussions held here must focus on strengthening national protection measures, fostering international support, enhancing accountability for violations, and increasing investment in education during crisis. Let us take advantage of this moment to ensure that the next decade of the Safe Schools Declaration transitions from advocacy to implementation and from pledges to measurable outcomes. Let Nairobi be remembered as a place where global commitment evolved into coordinated delivery and where we strengthened our resolve to protect education as a human right and a foundation for peace. Allow me, Your Excellency, at this juncture to express sincere appreciation to our international co-hosts and partners, Norway, Argentina, Spain, Nigeria, the African Union, UNICEF, UNESCO, the Global Coalition to Protect Education from Attack, civil society organizations, and youth champions for their continued leadership and technical support in this area. I also pay tribute to teachers, especially those in hardship areas, whose dedication ensure learning continues despite difficulties, and to learners whose courage inspires us all. Ladies and gentlemen, as we begin this important conference, I am confident that our deliberations will be constructive, collaborative, and focused on practical solutions. Together, let us reaffirm our responsibility to protect every child's right to safe education.